Nine Network's coverage of the economy and entrepreneurship in the St. Louis region is supported by the law firm of Polsinelli.
Well, a couple of years ago, anyone outside of it may not have known too much about it. The St. Louis tech and entrepreneurial startup scene. But a lot has changed in the past couple of years. In fact, St. Louis was recently named one of the top tech cities in all of the country. Tonight, we are at the Startup Connection, one of the largest entrepreneurial events of the entire year in St. Louis, to ask the question, is St. Louis on the cusp of an entrepreneurial breakthrough? So stay tuned. Stay Tuned brings together local experts, journalists, civic leaders, and regular people to have tough conversations for a stronger St. Louis. Add your voice to our conversation, and you're at the table as we stay on top of current events and go deeper, bringing more light and less heat to the issues that matter. From the Nine Network of Public Media in Grand Center, this is Stay Tuned. Well, all three floors of Knight Hall at Washington University, they're bustling with excitement here tonight. This is the St. Louis startup scene that you are seeing. Over 70 companies are on exhibit. 1,000, maybe more folks here seeing what the tech scene has to offer in St. Louis, seeing that it's growing fast perhaps, from Square to Instagram. The country, if you listen to people here will tell you, is taking notice. Okay, joining us to talk about all the excitement and everything that's going on here tonight, Ed Domain, host of and executive producer of the Domain Tech Report. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. Sure. But first, am I right? Is it growing? Is it growing fast? What is going on behind us?
Yeah, we've got over 1,000 people here in Knight Hall. And when I first moved to St. Louis after winning an Arch grant, I worked in the old T-Rex where the lights were blinking and the wires were hanging down. You thought a monster was going to jump out and chop you up. Now everything's like shiny and new and bright. It's really exciting. It is growing super fast.
Okay, so we're not the only city in America, though, that likes to say that we're a tech hub or an up-and-coming tech hub.
Right.
How does this compare? Everybody in St. Louis is excited about this, at least in the tech world.
Yep.
Are they excited about St. Louis outside of this region, outside of our city?
Yes, and I will say, I like to think some of my friends in Silicon Valley like to keep up with me, but also Washington University, where we're at, has a huge impact in Silicon Valley. So many of their students that we don't keep here end up going out there. Their alumni are aware of what's going on. Gaurav Garg is here tonight. He is the venture capitalist behind Wing. He's a WashU alumni. He invests in companies out there. He's checking out students here. So yes, the outside world is paying attention. And Arch grants, unique in the nation until Kansas City just got it, but that's good for all of Missouri. So yes, I would say absolutely the rest of the country's watching. We're not Silicon Valley, but we are definitely ahead of a lot of other cities.
Arch grants is where you get a non-equity investment of $50,000 to come relocate here and do business in St. Louis. Let's back up for just a second.
Sure.
We can see the energy here. Yeah. What is actually happening here? What's going on here tonight?
So Startup Connection is a conference. It's a yearly event, the biggest one that we have in the community. Like I said, over 1,000 people. I want to say 1,500, but it's a celebration of all things entrepreneur and innovation. You walk around, you see all these dynamic entrepreneurs with their booths set up, showing off what they've done.
Deals made here tonight, or is that
Absolutely.
Not the? That is. Sure. That's part of the act as well.
Gaurav Garg said he's already met a couple of entrepreneurs he's interested in. David Carendish of Answers.com, a great success story, said he met 4 entrepreneurs and he asked them what they were doing. And I said, did they know who you are and did you have the checkbook with you? And he said, no, they didn't know who he was. But so that's a great way for him to easily vet somebody when they don't know how famous he is, and he can approach them later. So I wouldn't be surprised if some deals come out of here tonight.
Okay, you mentioned Washington University. What else? Why is this happening? If it's as good as we like to tell ourselves it is, and let's say that it is, why? What's going on in St. Louis? What have you seen change from the 2 or 3 years ago when you moved from Chicago?
Sure, I got here and I remember when I was standing on the corner of Washington and 7th, and I saw this drunk guy punching a window for no reason, and I was like, well, this is where I'm moving. But then within a couple months, a new restaurant opened up, a wine bar, the MX movie theater. There's a plan now among the entrepreneurial community to get 1,000 new startup companies downtown by 2025. A lot of towns they'll have people fighting over their fiefdoms and they don't all pull together. The regional chamber, the venture capitalists, the entrepreneurs that are becoming successful are all pulling together and are working together to support each other, so you don't see a lot of infighting that some other cities might have. And I think in the next few years, we've already had a few companies get acquired and get bought, but it's been for smaller amounts. We're going to start seeing big dollar amount companies in the next 3-4 years as people make their exits.
So are we bucking the St. Louis tradition? Because I think in a lot of areas people will criticize us for having our own little kingdoms that we protect. Are you saying in the entrepreneur, in the tech world, we're breaking down some of those walls?
I think so, and you know, the people moving downtown are coming from, in some cases outside the country, but definitely outside the state, and they move here for the opportunity. I've met an entrepreneur that moved here from Silicon Valley, met one from Seattle, but when they get here, they expect to have it the way it was in the cities they came from. So downtown's culture is changing very rapidly, and that's spreading out into the city. Entrepreneurs like to be civically engaged, so they get involved in different planting trees, they get involved in volunteering at schools, but they have such a net positive effect on the community. I think that spreads, and even beyond the county in St. Charles, you have the old post office known as OPO Startups. They have a great community thriving out there, so word is really getting around.
Tell us about the Domain Tech Report, the role here, and where we can see it.
Wednesday nights at 10:30, I interview entrepreneurs and innovators in the community, and it repeats on Sunday at noon.
We look forward to the Domain Tech Report Wednesdays at 10:30. Ed Domain, thanks for your time.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, Casey.
Good to see you. Thank you. Okay, you mentioned Garv Garg. Let's go now to just a little bit. We had some time to catch up with him, and let's hear what he is saying, maybe representative of what you were talking about, what people are saying about St. Louis coming from the outside of St. Louis.
Everyone wants to go to Silicon Valley. What is it that one can do here where people from everywhere in the country would want to come to St. Louis to do? Is there an industry like that where when you just think of that industry, you think I need to go to St. Louis if I'm going to be in this business or in that space? That's what technology does in Silicon Valley. And sure, there are other centers, but Silicon Valley is kind of the headquarters for technology startups. And so what is it in St. Louis that is going to bring people here rather than trying to replicate somebody else's playbook? It would make sense to me to be investing in businesses where there are natural advantages in the ecosystem in St. Louis. So for example, Washington University has this giant medical school that spurs a lot of new creativity and innovation. And certainly healthcare and life sciences are areas where a lot is about to change. As the rich world ages and as the developing world develops the diseases of the rich world, there's a very large economic opportunity. This is an area where St. Louis really has, or at least certainly around Washington University, there's an opportunity to do something very significant. There may be a few other places where that's true, but to grab that mantle and be the best at certain types of life sciences or healthcare innovation would make sense to me. On a pure technology basis, the reality to me is that one can build up a small ecosystem, but it's unlikely to register on our radar from 2,000 miles away because we're so focused, again, on local companies. And ecosystems around here need to be built up in a way where they are self-reinforcing and can grow organically.
Okay, joining us now is Dedrick Carter, Associate Provost and Associate Vice Chancellor for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Washington University in St. Louis. That's a mouthful, but it also sounds kind of unique. How many universities would you estimate, or has WashU ever had an Associate Vice Chancellor for Innovation and Entrepreneurship?
So I don't know many universities that have it. They're increasing numbers. Well, I'm the first at WashU. And the goal is to have someone whose responsibility is to be sort of the executive officer and create something greater than the sum of its parts in tech transfer and areas around that. I joke that really at a university, the titles that are the shortest are the most important. Student, those are the most important, right?
Very good. Donor.
Yeah, there you go.
But you must be doing something right. Is it about half or a little under half? We have 70 companies here. 25 or so have WashU roots.
That's right. So somewhere in the neighborhood of a third of the companies here have some DNA that's related to WashU. And WashU really has doubled down in sort of increasing our emphasis on innovation and entrepreneurship. And that's part of the reason I'm here. I came here from the National Science Foundation and before that MIT. So the goal was, how do we do something that's very uniquely WashU and help to raise the region?
You're also, though, an excellent example of a man who can teach and who can do and who did,
yes.
and now showing others. You yourself are an entrepreneur,
Absolutely.
Started companies. So what are you trying to impart on the students or the culture here at Washington University?
So it's just that. It's the ability to marry theory and practice. So the ability to think about what are the kinds of things we should do, but good ideas are nothing if you can't have execution. So it's about being able to execute on those ideas.
And we're talking about St. Louis in all things tonight. Your experience in St. Louis, in the startup scene in St. Louis?
So it's great. I mean, I think my experience in St. Louis is that the startup scene is vibrant and growing. On a raw basis, we still have a ways to go to be like the Alley, the Valley, or Austin or Boston. But if you look at the slope, the rate of change, there's unbelievable growth happening in St. Louis, and that's why I'm here. I mean, it's a great place to start a company, to start a family. My wife and I had 2 kids here, and it's still a great place to live for a reasonable expense. That makes it a really nice place to start an industry.
Do you think much about how to get these ideas, this DNA, these companies with WashU DNA, to stay in St. Louis, and not just the companies, but the talent in general that comes out of WashU is immense. Not all of it stays.
So universities like Washington University can bring together people from all over the world to study. And really, truly great places will have some stickiness to be able to keep them here for a period of time because it's a viable option. And we spend a lot of time thinking about how do we make sure that this, not change, but how do we make sure that there's such a magnetic pull that you can keep people here for some period of time. And you do that by creating options. You've got to make sure risk capital is available. You've got to make sure there's strong options and connections with industry. You've got to make sure that we continue to reach out and invest in the community in the way that we have been doing. And that it continues to be a very fun place to live for people who have options all over the country. And so far, so good. We're really coming up.
How's the city changed in the time you've been here? How's the culture of what we're talking about tonight changed?
I actually think that to see the growth trajectory of St. Louis in the time that I've been here for a couple of years now. And I guess I came at a really good time because we see a lot of things, the perfect storm of things happening that make me very, very bullish on St. Louis as a region.
Are you talking about the ecosystem of entrepreneurship? Or are you talking about the city at all, at large? Because I don't think many people see a lot of growth in the city at large.
So I am talking about the city at large. So let's define growth. For me, I'm saying if you go to a place, so look around. If you feel the buzz and energy in a place like in an event like Startup Connection, where you've got a collection of over 1,000 people, 70 companies, all focused on trying to show what their venture can do. That sort of energy is alive and well in St. Louis, and it's growing. And that's what I mean. So in terms of population and the like, I don't know what those numbers are, but if you look at the percent of the population that really are starting to think about becoming entrepreneurs, and you look at the energy around the entrepreneurial community, it's amazing.
Dedrick Carter, Associate Provost and Associate Vice Chancellor for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Washington University, and all-around energetic and encouraging guy to talk to. Thank you. Nice meeting you. Thank you for your time. Okay, so the Startup Connection, as we've said, is showcasing 70 companies focusing on everything from education to manufacturing. We took a stroll through the halls here to ask people what they're most excited about here in the St. Louis region.
I'm most excited about everything in St. Louis. I've been here for a week because we're an Arch Grants recipient, and we've just been blown away by the entrepreneurial ecosystem. The support we've gotten has been like none other, and we are confident that St. Louis will offer us the best opportunity to grow and build our business. The connections that we've already made in the short amount of time we've been here, it's only been a week, have been incredible. Events like Startup Connection are huge, and just the opportunity for networking and to meet various resources have been unparalleled.
I'm excited about Series A capital coming onto the scene. Up until this point, we've had seed and we've had later stage institutional, but the missing puzzle piece, I think the thing that's going to spur startups to grow, especially in the digital health space, is that Series A capital that's going to let startups get to the next level here. So right here in St. Louis, just do a back of the envelope calculation and you see a couple of things. First, the ability to find and retain incredible talent is better here than anywhere else. Second, when it comes to a customer base and even potential acquirers down the road, St. Louis is a very good place to be. And finally, this is the epicenter for research in health tech. And the more that shifts into digital health, the better. And I want to be here when it does.
There's so much more going on now than there used to be. It's exciting. There's a lot more activity. Like, we talked to a lot of peers doing new things, and a lot of that didn't exist before. So that's really, really exciting. So we get a lot of resources from, people that are doing similar things like fabrication, sourcing, marketing, that are doing similar things that are a little further along than us. And it seems like that's new. There's a slowly growing excitement about that.
I love just the entrepreneur energy that has gotten going. I'm an Arch Grant recipient and an SEIC recipient, so I feel like I've been incredibly blessed by that energy and that momentum that's going. But it's just thrilling to see how the startups are not only getting started, but doing really well. I think St. Louis is a great place, but it is a great place in that I've heard competition is really tough in other large cities and other big cities that have a lot of business going, a lot of entrepreneurs. Cost of living is low, but I was talking to someone the other day about St. Louis, and people are nice. Like the entrepreneur community, the service provider community, people are just friendly for the most part.
Okay, joining us now, Abby Cohen, co-founder along with your partner Andrew Breimer, correct, of Sparrow Labs, with a product you have come up with called Wing. We'll talk about that in just a second, but I first want to just get a little bit of your kind of personal story for Sparrow Labs and you and Andrew. You're a WashU grad, but you were still going to WashU as undergraduates, both of you, at the time that you came up with this idea that we're going to talk about here in a second. So you came up with the idea, you won some awards, you got some money, you decided to stay in St. Louis. This is like the Chamber of Commerce dream story here. How did this happen? Are you glad you stayed in St. Louis? What has St. Louis done for you to make you want to build your business here?
Yeah, so we got started, myself and my co-founder, out of WashU, out of an extracurricular group on campus, where we were really just trying to find a problem and put some of the engineering skills that we had and we're learning in the classroom to actual use in doing good in the world. And so that's really where we identified respiratory conditions like asthma and cystic fibrosis and COPD as these really big problems that hadn't seen any innovation in the last several decades. And really the crazy thing about it, in particular asthma is a really big problem in St. Louis. It's triple times the national average in some places. On top of that, in the United States in general, there's about 30 million people with asthma, and it costs $56 billion in annual healthcare costs to the US healthcare system. And the crazy thing about it is that about 80 to 90% of all asthma attacks, ER visits, hospitalizations, deaths due to asthma are completely preventable if you know what to do and what medication to take at the right time before it gets to a point where you can't breathe. And so that's really where we developed Wing from, which is basically a device that allows people to more proactively manage their condition and prevent asthma attacks from even happening in the first place. And for us, our story started at WashU, but then we started to win and enter competitions in order to fund ourselves. And those were grant competitions. Some were local, like the Discovery competition at WashU, the Olin Cup. Arch Grants is another example, and then some were more on a national basis with professional organizations like IEEE and ASME. And you know, I think that what we found in St. Louis is that one, asthma is a really big problem here.
The problem is here. The work is
so it's a big problem here, and some of the leading researchers in this space are at WashU Medical School. One of our advisors, Dr. Mario Castro, has been working with us from the beginning. In addition, there's already this network around helping children with asthma get access to the medications and the treatment that they need through organizations like the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America St. Louis chapter. It's the most active chapter in the country. It's here, right in our backyard. And then on top of that, with all the different support networks in St. Louis, whether it's I-10, you know, WashU, of course, for us, Arch Grants, there's so many organizations out there that are really just, their goal is to help you succeed in St. Louis.
So I often think that an entrepreneur, an inventor, is just born. Did you imagine yourself that this would be the career path you were taking, or were you kind of developed and cultivated? Was this born out of WashU's prodding, out of the initiative to encourage entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I actually have a different journey than most people, I would say. So I came to WashU knowing that I wanted to go into the medical field. At first I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Then I thought maybe I want to work at a big company. And my junior year, I really wasn't sure what I wanted because I knew both of those things weren't the right fit. WashU gave me an opportunity to actually try everything that I wanted to do. or thought I wanted to do. And so for me, I got involved with this project, really liked it, and I've always been entrepreneurial. I love starting things, but I didn't necessarily identify myself as an entrepreneur. And I have to say, it actually ended up taking my co-founder, Andrew, really tapping me on the shoulder and saying, hey, we could do this after school. We could make this into something real and really make an impact. And I started talking to patients, starting talking to doctors, and I realized what a huge impact we were going to be able to have. And if we weren't going to do it, then nobody was. And so for me, it was helping people breathe better is a really tough thing to turn down. And so we kind of just went in full force at that point.
What do you need that you can't find in St. Louis so far?
So far. I think in general, you can find a lot in St. Louis. I think for us, some of the limiting factors, because I don't want to say that you can't find anything here, because I don't think that's been the case, but rather, I think that we have the opportunity to look beyond St. Louis to find the right fit for certain things, whether that's investment or team members. I think that it's limiting to just look in one place no matter where you are. Even if we were in San Francisco or New York, I think good people and good investors and good fits are everywhere. And so to me, it doesn't make sense if you don't have to limit yourself to one location.
Abby Cohen with Sparrow Labs, thank you for your time. It was a pleasure meeting you, and good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing the impact you have on like you said, a very real problem here in the St. Louis region for sure. Okay, so if you ever found yourself in an elevator, maybe this has happened to you, I'm not sure, but if you found yourself in an elevator with the person who had the power to make your great idea, your dreams, come true, the money, for instance, would you know what to say before they got off that elevator? Let's take a listen to some elevator pitches.
So like a lot of you out there, I have friends and family all over the country. When my best friend in New York gets a new job or my sister in DC has a bad day, I'm left in a tough spot. A text or a greeting card doesn't quite seem like enough to celebrate, but $50+ flowers or browsing the internet endlessly seems like way too much. Greetable is created to fill that gap.
See, as pet owners, we'll do anything to improve our dogs' quality of lives. In my industry, I'll be honest with you, I think I see people who like their dogs more than their kids and more than their significant others.
What we do is we manage student discount programs across the country. So gone are the days of students showing their student ID, trying to figure out where all the student discounts are. Now they're in their pocket all across the country on our smartphone app. They find a discount, show their phone, they get the discount, and Rover Town makes a commission on every sale.
So the night culminates here at the Startup Connection with cash, money handed out to prize winners in the Accelerate St. Louis competition. So here they are, your third place winner, Rover Town. Second place was Easy Torque, and first place is with us now, Mag Bioscience. Congratulations, you have a huge check you just set down there, and it has $50,000 written on it. I guess first, just give me the practical side. What does $50,000 do for Mag Bioscience?
So Mag Biosense is a startup company. There's actually 4 of us in the company right now, with Aura and myself being the 2 full-time employees working in lab and applying for funding, trying to grow the company. So this means actually quite a bit. We're in a process of building our prototype and doing some preclinical trials that will lead into clinical trials and FDA approval. So $50,000 for us is a huge deal.
It's a huge thing for us. We did not think we were going to win this challenge at all. And being in St. Louis, it could be challenging to get the funding that's necessary to take us from the seed stage to the venture capital stage. And this is just amazing. I mean, we did not go. We just came here, wanted to do our pitch to whoever came by our booth, and we didn't know we were going to win. So this is amazing.
Finally, where does it go from here? It's like you won. You're not going to Disney World, I guess. So you got to go back to work.
Exactly.
So now what? And how does that help?
So in addition to the heart attack detection, it's actually a platform technology. So if you can imagine this as being a Keurig coffee maker, and you have the different flavors of coffee. So this troponin, this heart attack detection, is just a single flavor of the coffee. So we're right now looking at other biomarkers that we can do, that we can use in our instrument to further help the medical field.
Last question: what brought this company to St. Louis, and do you think this company has a future home in St. Louis?
So the founder, he developed the technology as a PhD student in Israel. He came to WashU as a postdoctoral student, and that's where he founded the company. Since then, he's working back and forth between Israel and St. Louis, but he wanted to keep the company in St. Louis because of this growing network that we have here, and it's actually a really great place to be with the cost of living and the resource and opportunities that we have between WashU and SLU and all the other organizations that are in St. Louis.
Congratulations to you both.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So it's easy to see that $50,000 can mean a lot to a young company. In fact, we saw similar reactions from other companies at even lower levels of prize money. So a lot of energy here tonight. Interesting fact, this was the most amount of prize money that they were able to raise from corporations in the history of Startup Connections. So a sign of growth, a trend in our startup scene. Perhaps we'll see if that trend continues next year. Until next time, I'm Casey Nolan. We'll hope you'll stay tuned.
Nine Network's coverage of the economy and entrepreneurship in the St. Louis region is supported by the law firm of Polsinelli.